Welcome to our series on Active Directory. Today we're going to be talking about creating a template user in our Active Directory system. By now we've already installed the server and installed Active Directory on it. We've planned out our naming conventions, our users, groups, and shares we plan on having on our server. In this case, on our C drive, we have a home folder that is already shared out, and we notice the home folder is empty. We'll use that folder as part of our user creation for our template user. What we want to do is get started with our Active Directory. So we'll choose Start, Administrative Tools, Active Directory Computers and Users. In this case, we've opened up our domain of lastname.local. Your domain name will reflect your last name in the labs. Notice we have, under the Users container, our default user of Administrator, which is the most powerful user on our system, and our guest user. The guest user should be disabled. Those are the two users automatically created when we install Windows Server 2008. What I'm going to go ahead and do is create our first group. I can either choose the group icon at the top, same as I have a user icon at the top, or right click in the window, choose New, and choose Group. I'm going to go ahead and create an accounting group for that's the department I want to use. I'm going to go ahead and make this a universal group because I've raised the functional level of our server to above 2003 and actually to a 2008 functional level, so universal group is available in Active Directory for our entire tree and forest. I'm going to leave it as a security group as I plan on using it to assign rights, unlike a distribution group we would use for doing mail list. I have our accounting group. We want to make sure that in our plan that we've planned out all the groups, all the users we plan on having prior to going in and doing our installation. This way it'll make the template user more utilizable and give us the largest range of users to create. We have our group. I'm going to right click, choose New, and this time choose User. Our naming convention is first initial last name, so in our case we have the accounting template user. So I'm going to name him A template so we know what the actual user is. So this will be a user for our accounting group. Any user that's part of the accounting department will be created using this template. We choose Next. We enter a password. Our default password is going to be capital PASSWORD1. Capital PASSWORD1. Notice we have four options. User must change password on next login is good when you create a new user. We give them the default password of password 1 and force them to change their password when they first log in, so not everyone on our system has password 1 for an ID. We go ahead and choose account is disabled. Since this is a template account, no one will actually use it to log in, so we don't want to leave it open for vulnerability. So we're going to go ahead and disable this account. Notice the other two options of user cannot change password is if we want to set a password that we know for a user and not have them change it ever. And then password never expires is set for administrative or service accounts where someone does not log in on a regular basis. This way their password will not expire based on policies later on. We choose Next and Finish to create our user. We now have our user template. The reason why we did a template is we want certain properties, when I double click on the user, certain of the properties in the tabs to duplicate for every user that is created in this department. The name, such as first name, last name, display name, will not go from user to user. We'll have to re-enter that in as we create the new users using the template. Certain tabs, such as the address tab, we'll enter in University Park in Illinois, where Governor State University is located. This we want to duplicate for every single user. Several of the tabs we can go ahead and save the properties by creating this template user and then using it to create additional users in the future and not have to re-enter the information in. Our account settings, the user local login name will automatically change as we create new users. We can set login hours in which to limit when someone can log in. Today's 24/7 workforce it isn't practical to limit the hours users can log in. We notice we have the user must change password on next login, and account disabled is still there. Any of these account options can be set and will be copied as we copy our template user. Account expires. In our case, most users will have never. We would never want to expire a normal user account. If we create temporary users for part-time employees or seasonal employees, we would want to make sure we choose end, and we want to expire that account on a certain date. This way the account automatically expires. We can then, on our normally routine maintenance, clean up that account later on and not have a security risk. We're going to choose Profile, and we know we shared out our home directory, so we want to connect and choose a drive letter. This will be the drive letter that is presented on the user's workstation. We know A through C are pretty much used by the floppy drives and hard drive of a user. D and E are sometimes used for CD-ROMs or DVD drives or Blu-ray. We want to start above that. Since we are creating a user's home directory, I like to use the letter H for home. This way it's easy for them to remember. Some people also like U for user drive. I'm going to choose drive H and specify the location of the share that I want to present to them as their home folder using the Universal Resource Locator. In this case, it's / the name of our server, which is SRV dash, and it will be your last name, then / the name of the share we created, which was home, then / I want my username to be filled in here, but because I'm creating a template user, I don't want to fill in a template, which would be their username. I want to fill in % username %, which will be a variable, which means every time I create a user with this template, it will fill in that user's name. We click Apply, and we see that a template's filled in there. Do not worry, it will still copy appropriately. I'm going to click OK, that I'm done editing the properties. If we look at real quick at our C drive, where we have our home directory, we now have an A template folder for that particular user's home directory. We now come back to show you the use of the template user. We right click on the user and we tell it to copy. We notice we have to fill in a first name and of course our last name. Remember, your naming convention for someone like Jim Smith should account for multiple people having the same name, so you may have to add letters or numbers after the name for your naming convention, such as a middle initial, so you can do J.A. Smith or J. Smith 001. Do not just do a single digit in case you have a large corporation where you may go more than 9 users. This way everyone has a 2-digit number. Alright, we choose Next. Enter the password, and notice our values of user must change password at next login and account disabled are set. Since this is a valid user, we'll undisable that account. We'll do our password of PASSWRD1, capital PASSWRD1. We've now created that user. Let's double click on our Jim Smith user. We see his name is appropriate. Under address, we have University Park copied from our template user. Under account, we have our basic settings that we've set, which is changing our password. Under profile, notice we have connect to the H drive, and notice it has the J Smith username. It was automatically copied since we used the username % when we created our template path. We're going to tell it OK. Now, one of the flaws of our template user is we are just copying a user with certain values. If I go back to my accounting template user, look at members, they are a member of domain users. I want to add another group, such as the accounting group, to this user. I'll choose Add. I know it's the accounting group, so I can just type it in, check the name in Active Directory is correct. Now I've added the accounting group to this user template. I can apply and then tell it OK. So now if I open up my user template, member of the accounting group, I created Jim Smith with this accounting template, So let's open up Jim Smith, look at the Member Of tab, and notice they are a member of the domain local only. Remember, all users are also a member of the Everyone group, but that does not show up in this particular box. It only shows up when we are dealing with rights. So just because I created it with the created Jim Smith with the template, when I modify the template, it does not modify the users already previously created. If I come to my template user, copy it again, this time create the user of Bob Jones, username B Jones to follow our naming convention. Next, our password, undisable the account so that Bob can log in. Choose next and retype our passwords appropriately. One more time. Okay, we've created our user. We look at Bob. Once again, address matches. Profile does say B Jones for the path to the home directory, and they are a member of the accounting group as appropriate. So we see we have to make sure all the values are on our template user before we go ahead and create it and start making our users with it. But it does save us a lot of time and a lot of typing. Thank you for coming today and learning how to create template users and why we would use them. I hope to see you as the next video in our series.